Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Charitable and Home Care. Very glad you are joining us as we would like to bring you some information that a lot of people are asking about. We are very glad to bring this breaking news into you as we welcome to the program Captain Brendan Mathern with the Louisiana Parish Sheriff's Office. Brendan, thank you again for meeting with us and joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Keith.
We appreciate it. Do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just give a little bit of an overview as we've all heard about this weapon that fired in this home and the impact of that.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of give the rundown. At 7:45 last night, a 911 call was placed and we responded. We had an individual called and reported that a child, a 6-year-old child, had been shot, and deputies immediately responded along with EMTs. When we arrived on the scene, deputies found the child was unresponsive. Quickly, EMTs got the child to the hospital. After CPR was actually conducted on scene first, and the child was then taken to the hospital and unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. As we continued the investigation at the scene, we came to learn that his brother, another 6-year-old child, and the victim were actually playing with a loaded handgun in a bedroom at the home, which was in the 2000 block of Louisiana Highway 182. I know we saw a lot of social media reports last night of a heavy police presence there. That was the location of the incident, again, on Highway 182 in Raceland. So again, we found that, the two brothers were playing with a handgun that turned out to be loaded. They were in a bedroom, and during the course of them playing, the handgun went off, striking one of the brothers, which resulted in his death at the hospital.
Yeah, and such a sad story to hear about, and I know one of those things we have to report this kind of news. For me, I just think about how sad and how dramatic that is for a 6-year-old who maybe without a whole lot of gun information or knowledge, they know about play guns, right? They know what they've learned and what they see. But a loaded weapon can have these kinds of bad results sometimes if in fact they get into the hands of children.
No question. And look, like you said, Keith, it's tough on everyone. The first officer that was on scene has small children around that same age, just like I do. And in fact, kind of learning some more information about the incident this morning, it's truly heartbreaking. I think to your point, Keith, I think when you have a tragedy like this happen, normally you see it happens somewhere else, right? It doesn't happen in your hometown. Unfortunately, this one did. And I think anytime you have something tragic like this happen to a child, obviously the gut reaction from the public is finger pointing and trying to say who was wrong. But I think the bottom line for parents out there and for grandparents and anyone as well that would have any kind of children in their house is let's learn from this incident. Safety has to be a priority when it comes to handling firearms. We have a community that is very used to firearms being around. We have a lot of people that go hunting and they have gun cases in a lot of homes. And it's not uncommon for us to find those left unlocked. It's important and imperative that parents put firearm safety at the forefront of everything they do and keep those firearms out of the hands of children. I know just me personally talking with my wife last night after the incident, before I even bought a handgun, we bought a safe. We were not, and we didn't even have kids at that time. So we made sure that we had the measures to protect the firearm and keep it safe before we even purchased a firearm. And that's how everyone should be thinking along the lines of gun safety.
No, and I could not agree more. And it's one of those things where it's just got to really be a thought process. And again, we want to be able to learn from this tragedy. For me as a social worker, I think about the brother and how difficult that's going to be. So my first thought is about support and making sure that we have support to that family, to that child, and making sure that we can help them embrace. And then my second thought is about how we move forward with that. But you bring up a really good point. It's not only those people that are young parents before they have children. I never had guns in my home until they needed to be taken out of a home that had people with confusion. So we still need to make a plan. And much like you, I bought a safe before I brought the gun home. And so it's just kind of important that gun safety has got to be on the forefront of our minds when we think about this. And again, we live in an area where we've got lots of guns because it's part of our culture. It's part of what we do, but we got to find that safety measure.
No question. And look, like you mentioned last night, you have the brother who was just playing with his brother, and something tragic happened. You have parents that are obviously distraught and just unbelievably in this situation now that they never imagined themselves in. That's where our police social services comes into effect, and they're at their best with victim services. They respond to situations like this. They responded last night, and they're there to help the families and to comfort the families. I'm sure that family never expected to have to deal with anything like this, certainly when you're talking about the death of a child. And so there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of things that you don't know where to turn. And so our police social services are there, and they're assisting. They assisted last night on scene, and they'll continue to assist that family as the days go on and in the weeks to come.
And we're so very excited to have those resources. Not every community has those resources, and we're so very glad to be able to do that and provide for that as we look at the totality of this kind of situation. Again, traumatic event where two brothers, two 6-year-olds playing with a handgun, that gun discharged. One of those brothers was shot, and then, as you mentioned, succumbed to the injury and passed away at the hospital. And so, Captain Brennan, we thank you so very much for the updates and letting us know about this incident. We appreciate it, and thanks for sharing. We'll look forward to that press release when it comes out.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, and that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.